Hey Tom, what the hell is this? What are you talking about? It's a 2005 VTX1300 by Honda. What, are you stupid or something? No. I made it through the 8th grade. Sure as hell don't look like a VTX1300. Well, it is, so, hey, what can I tell you? It is what it is. Well, what are you going to do with it? Well, you see, it runs like crap, so I'm going to fix it. Now, wait just a minute here, friend. Don't you mean we're going to fix it? Howdy, folks. Welcome back. Guess what we got? We have another 05 VTX 1300 that needs some love. Runs like crap, so we're going to fix it. Now, I know it doesn't look like much, but a customer got this for a real cheap price, and he's going to turn it into like a rat rod type deal. And we're not going to be doing anything else other than getting it running properly. I'll show you how it runs here in a second, but let's do a quick walk around. So it's got this kind of air intake dealio here. I'm assuming it's Vance & Hines because it's got Vance & Hines Cobras on it. So I don't know, probably this was a kit or something or a match set. Who knows? I don't know if this is working properly. I don't know anything about it. We're going to get into that, of course, but it just doesn't run well. The main complaint by the customer is A, it runs rough. B, when you're going down like interstate speed and you crank off the throttle, you let off the throttle, it dies. And C, I guess there is no C. It's A and B in this case. So we're going to get it running right at least, hopefully. So let's see how she runs right now, and that way you have a comparison for when we hopefully do fix it. You get the idea. Yeah, she sure sounds pretty rough. He just brought it over a little while ago, so it wasn't stone cold, but it wasn't up to normal operating temperature either. But still, you can tell she needs some work. Missing half of a pipe down here. Yeah, okay. But I think we are. Yeah, whatever. But I tell you what, yeah, she's just beautiful. Okay, I have a service manual for this, of course, so I'm going to open that up eventually, but I think the first thing we need to do is see if we can find some part numbers or something on this, or a model number, and then go on the Vance & Hines site and see if we can find a manual for this thing. You can see it's pretty crusty back in here. Obviously, this is pretty crusty. Whether or not this stays or not, I assume it will, because I don't have the OEM stuff to replace it with, so I think we're going to try to fix it as it sits, or as you see it, and then, figure it out from there. I just don't see anything right now on it. We may have to take cover off, or maybe it was up here. Perhaps there was a sticker there and some moisture got underneath it and ate it up. I don't know. So we may just have to start taking it apart. I'm going to go online anyway and type in, let's see, is that Vance & Hines? Yeah, Vance & Hines Cobra Pro or something like that. I think so. I think that's what they are. They sure look like the Vance & Hines dual shots exhausts. I put a couple of sets on those on Harleys years ago. So, I don't know, we'll try it. See what we can come up with. Need some guidance on that, though. Forgot where I was, had another customer come by. I think I was talking about this, this air intake and trying to look it up. I did a quick look. I can't find anything online, so I'm going to take a picture of it, a couple of pictures of it, and email it to Vance & Hines. These are called big shots, not dual shots, whatever the hell I said it was before. I wonder if this has anything to do with it. Okay, so before I pull this carb, I'm going to take care of some vacuum leaks. And I said before, these are kind of notorious on these VTXs to have vacuum leaks. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Now remember, this has an aftermarket air intake, but don't let that throw you. The vacuum hoses are pretty much the same, with the exception of the fact that they tapped off to somewhere in here with a vacuum hose to operate this vacuum solenoid or vacuum actuator for those butterflies, and I put a vacuum on that and that's leaking. So this thing in itself is a vacuum leak. So when we test it, we'll just clamp that off. But I need to go backwards with these hoses and replace a bunch of them. Okay, so right now you're going to see that, let's see if we can trace that one right there. See that T right there? You're going to vacuum T right in there. It goes to a couple different spots. All these vacuum lines have to be good. One of them shoots up. I thought one went up toward the front. May not be on this particular one because it's got a pair valve up there. And this vacuum line was hanging off like that. And I may have knocked it off when I took the tank off. But you can see that this is all. Focus! You can see that this is pretty cracked. I mean, this vacuum line is not in very good shape. The main one, however, was on the other side with a vacuum actuation for the fuel cock. That just fell off, which is this little elbow. So you've got, this is where that comes across from the other side. Here's your main vacuum tap right there off of the intake manifold. This is like a manifold on the intake side, goes to each of the jugs, and then that goes out to the single point where you have a carb holder where the carburetor goes. So this is where you're going to pull your main vacuum off of. There may also be another one. I'm not sure if that's water back there or not. I got to look at that a little further. So you got a vacuum line that comes off of here. I'm not sure where this one goes. This one does not go, I don't think, to this one. It goes to, I was pretty sure there's two separate locations, but I got to find them. So there's the main one. This just fell right off. This was the little elbow that they were using to connect to the fuel tap. So this one's no good. You can see the end of that. All right. There's a major vacuum leak. It's right off of that pickup point right there. So that's number one. This is the fuel line going to the carb, so we don't worry about that from a vacuum standpoint. We just want to make sure that it's good. Number two, again, this pair valve, whatever they're calling this model, this is no good. I mean, it may have been on there. I may have knocked it off, but it shouldn't have come off that easy either way. And you can see that it doesn't seat on there very well because this rubber dates back to the Jurassic period pretty much. So we're going to have to replace that. I use fuel line for that, some good Honda fuel line. Just so happens I have a bunch of that in this size, which is like 3.5 millimeter or something like that. So that's what we'll use to put that in. I got to try to figure out where this, I'm almost certain that there's two spots it picks a vacuum up off of. So there's one right there, as we said. See that? I'm sorry. There's one right there, rather. Let me go on the other side. We'll see where that one goes. Nope, taps in the same one. So it just tap. That's where the T goes from there. Okay, so yeah, there's two T's. That's what it was. It's a main vacuum line with two T's. I said it as two vacuum lines with one being a connector. Yeah, there's two T's in line. So this comes over to. There it is. Okay. Here is another, okay, I got to get a light on this one. Okay, this would be like an air cut valve, I think that's what it is here. And you see right there, there's another connector. Look at that hose right there. Look at that one. That is a vacuum hose, and it's basically busted off. I mean, it's in bad shape. Focus! Pretty bad shape. So we got like 3 or 4 major vacuum leaks in this thing. I'm really surprised it was running at all. I'm surprised that the fuel cock was even opening because it's vacuum actuated. It is not bypassing. I pulled the tank off, and in the on or reserve position, it's not bypassing. At least I haven't determined that yet. So that's what we're going to do first. I don't want to have to pull this carb unless absolutely necessary. I also drained some fuel out of the float bowl, and it looks pretty good. So there may not be any problems with the carb innards. This may completely be vacuum. And that's what I was thinking when he described it on the phone to me, where he's running it down the road, trying to loosen his load, and gets off the throttle, and it just dies. And I said, that sounds like a vacuum problem. We got something over here, too. Oh, this is a tank drain. I'm sorry. This is a tank vent, rather. This is a tank vent or a tank overflow drain, like if you're filling it up and you get a little bit cattywampus on the bung and it goes around the outside of it. That's what that is. So I'm not going to worry about that. That's typically what you'd see, and it's toward the back of the tank. We'll have to make sure that's up too. This is a tank vent. It's just a vent. Anything toward the top side of the tank there is a vent, not a vacuum hose. Vacuum sources at the intake anyway. Doesn't source at the carb. Now you can have them that source at the carb on the inline fours, and then pick a like on the Magna and on the what is that, the VFR, yeah. But that is it's high up on the carb body, so that's a vent, just a vent for it. Just vents down. Originally, this went into a spot on inside the original airbox. It really should have a little filter on it. We might just put a fuel filter on that and just kind of let it hang in there. I don't know yet. Don't know. But there's your problem, folks. These VTXs, especially these older ones, especially ratted out ones like this, with little or no maintenance. Vacuum, vacuum, vacuum. So this one, I don't know what we're going to do with this one, whether they're going to replace it or what, but this is what they did. This is, again, the one that operates that little servo or vacuum motor for those butterflies, which is leaking, so we're going to close this one off. But what they did was they teed it into this vacuum for this air cut valve, or whatever Honda's calling it, and that comes in off of that main, which is another T in there. So that's all they were doing. So we not only had a vacuum leak here, which was minor, this is the major one right there. So you got a major one right there, and you got a fairly major one where it went into the tank for the fuel cock, and another fairly major one up here at this paravalve, or whatever the hell they're calling it. So at least 3 or 4 big ones. So I'm gonna stop today because I got to do some other stuff. It's not that late, but I got to do some other stuff. So tomorrow we'll pick it back up after I replace all these vacuum lines, and we'll take the rag out. And then we'll fire it back up just open like this and see how she runs. If she runs markedly better, and I mean like she wants to run real well, then I'm probably going to stop there, put that back on, clean that. We're not going to screw with those right now. We'll just, like I said, clamp this off, put it back on, and see how it runs with the air cleaner on. Because I'm thinking, because this is probably an engineered system from Vance & Hines, the carburetor was probably already rejetted, so I'm not really suspecting a jet problem. Now, it could be dirt in there, yeah, but that's why I drained the float bowl to see if there was any crud in it. This is vacuum, vacuum, vacuum. So again, tomorrow I'll get on that. I'll change them all out, then we'll fire the camera back up and see how she runs. I got the vacuum lines rerun. They may need to be adjusted as to length, but they're plugged in. I did rerun this one down for that dealio, you know, that vacuum solenoid deal. We're going to leave it capped off, but just wire tied up in there, just in case, because you know he might go back to something like that and need a vacuum tap for it. So we'll just leave it there. So that's capped off, and also the one on the other side that would normally go to the vacuum petcock is capped off also. So right now we have good integrity with the vacuum lines. I've got an auxiliary fuel source suspended from an OSHA approved auxiliary fuel source suspender. This thing is loud as a son of a bitch, so I'm going to take you off the lapel mic again, and that way you can hear a little bit better. We're just going to see how it runs just like this to start with, get an idea. It's loud as a son of a bitch, as I said, so I don't want to run it too long. I don't want the cops showing up. So let's get to it. Alright, so yeah, that runs a significant amount better, even without the air cleaner on. We got her into an idle, no problem. She barely do that before, and just sounded good. You know, sounded like she wanted to come in and operate as normal. So I did. By the way, I did check the accelerator pump. You can just look up with a flashlight with the engine off, of course, and just crack the throttle a little bit, and you'll see it squirt, and it does work. So I think what we'll do next is we'll clean this hideous air filter element, shoot it with some K&N oil, and then we'll put that box back on, and then we'll see how it runs the way it's set up with a little bit of restriction for an air filter on there. I bet you it's going to run 100%. I'm going to go shut my fuel off, and let's go do that off camera. Okay, same conditions as before, except the air filter is clean. Relatively, it really needs to be replaced. Re-oiled lightly, and all the hardware put back in with Loctite inside there. And then, of course, all the vacuum lines that are not being used are still blocked off. Went back in there. I think I got it a little bit more, but it is what it is. I think I got it, though. Let's try it again. All right, folks, she should pretty much be done. So let's go take her for a shake. Well, let's see. I'm not entirely happy with it, but we always start with the simple stuff first. And since this is so easy to get apart as far as this airbox, I wasn't worried about duplicating a little work doing that if I needed to take the carb off. which I'm going to have to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in a little holding area that I have off the lift out of the shop area to free up that space, because once the carb comes off of this, I can certainly roll it off the lift, but you ain't pushing this thing back up. It's too heavy. So I know what I need to order. I'm going to order some stuff for it, get it in here, and then we'll revisit it. We'll pull the carb. I suspect either we do have a problem in a slow jet circuit, the way she's popping on decel in particular, or maybe a jetting issue. But I got to take a look at it first and then take it from there. So this is going to be it on this. Would be part 1 of another VTX 1300. Runs like crap. Let's fix it. Remember guys, don't just repair, restore. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.